All right, Saagar, what are you looking at?
Well, as a journalist, it's expected you are going to get things wrong. That is built into the profession. It's why news organizations are not individuals. They have editors, standards, processes in place which determine how and what information gets printed in their paper, how much they vet information before they publish it, and at least allegedly check facts with parties involved before going to print. Perhaps no news organization on earth has more of a responsibility on this front than the Associated Press, or the AP for short, one of the oldest news organizations in America, which holds an old and vaunted responsibility for gathering and pushing it out in a timely manner, the most basic facts in major situations. They're more conservative than mainstream media in almost every way, their elections bureau being one of the last to call races and frequently missing some of the most deranged and woke think pieces at the Washington Post and the New York Times. Their most basic function is information in its purest form. X happened. Why president said this. Then those of us in Washington can do with it what we will. Its information is so trusted in 2013, their account was actually hacked and false tweets were aired saying President Obama had been attacked at the White House, plunging the global stock market and sending markets into chaos for a few minutes. That is the power of their information. And as anyone who is even vaguely familiar with Spider-Man can tell you, with great power comes great responsibility. That's why this monologue is important. Not to applaud the AP for making a mistake and then putting processes in place to fix it, but instead an ongoing cover-up of massive globally important story that they bear total responsibility for. As you can all remember, on the night of Donald Trump's announcement for president, we also had to lead with an important story. A Russian missile had landed in Poland, killing 2 civilians, but it was according to the Associated Press. That was the story. It was of massive importance. It could have indicated an attack by Russia on a NATO country, precipitate World War III. The story was immediately seized on by President Zelensky of Ukraine to call for NATO intervention in his war. Kremlin accounts disputed the story were dismissed in chaotic, hours-long environment. It was only several hours later, when the world was waiting with bated breath, did we learn the truth. Actually, these weren't Russian missiles at all. Actually, they were Ukrainian air defense missiles that landed in Poland, killing 2 civilians. That truth, of course, paints a very different situation, a much more gray area that doesn't bear the consequences of possibly massive escalation and a planet-changing war. So, of course, the AP was not only incorrect, they got played by someone in the intelligence community, a so-called senior U.S. official. How? Why? Who was this official? Was he truly so important that based on his word alone, you were willing to scare the entire world? Clearly, the AP needed to answer some questions, and immediately they produced their fall guy, James Laporta. He's the reporter who received the tip and was then fired. That's clean and easy, but it's not so fast. The AP spun the firing of the reporter as justice because it was his fault, that he left, quote, the impression that the story sourcing had been approved. Yet, leaked Slack messages, which I just showed you from inside the AP newsroom, very different story. One that cast doubt on the entire organization from root to branch. Here's how the terrible saga played out. On Tuesday afternoon at 1:32 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Laporta posted in Slack. He said, senior U.S. official, previously vetted by the vice president of AP News and Investigations Division, had told him that Russian missiles had crossed into Moldova and into Poland. Immediately, the head of AP Europe replied with the question, can we send out a coveted and official AP News report with that information? And do we need confirmation from another source? To which that reporter replied, quote, that call is above my pay grade. When an editor followed up and asked for a story, Laporta couldn't, because he literally was at the doctor's office. He said all he knew is what he had passed along. 10 minutes after that message, a news alert was then sent by the deputy head of the European AP desk, reading, quote, Russian missiles crossed into Poland, killing 2, according to a senior U.S. official. The damage at that point was done, and the entire world was on edge. Only 24 hours later, after the Polish government announced its conclusions, did the AP actually retract the story, and then the blame game began in earnest. How could this happen? Well, looking at the Slack transcript, we can actually surmise something obvious. This is not the story of a single reporter screwing up. This is a systematic failure, top to bottom, that indicts all their coverage in the past and in the future. Again, let's review. Laporta was at the doctor's office. He receives this false tip from some sort of senior intelligence official. Not just any official, an official previously vetted and trusted by a senior vice president of the Associated Press for determining trustworthiness. Meaning that we should all be asking the question, hold on a second, how many other alerts and how many other stories quoted this guy? Have we been misled before? Further, this shoddy information was enough for the editors in the chat to get excited enough to push an alert to the entire world, who, according to them, they believe that Laporta had actually cleared his tip with the vice president, not just the source in the past, hence why they are blaming him. But you read the transcript. His intent is actually clear. I think it reveals that the central news organization, which can impact markets and instantly change geopolitics, has terrible editorial standards. It is something that has plagued journalism on a mass scale since the arrival of Donald Trump and Russiagate. Russiagate and Trump brought record ratings to news organizations and power to intel agencies to get journalists even more so to believe literally everything that they told them. It eroded long-standing editorial practices at some of the most important journalistic institutions, and it made it so that in the middle of a crisis, random dudes on Twitter second-guessing the AP report based upon photos from the scene gave us more accurate information in real time than the AP did. Let this be an important lesson for all of us. With the erosion of standards, it literally is a free-for-all out there. The only person that you can trust is yourself, not to know what is right in the moment, but to be skeptical of everything that you see in an ongoing and chaotic situation. I think it's crazy. You know, at first, Crystal, I was like,
hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Saagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us. And if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.